Let's open things up by punching in successfully here. Taking this zone. That's not entirely effective. They didn't get the overrun they would have liked. Used up both their armor on it because they needed as many pluses as they could. They were looking at +5 with everything thrown in. It was even if they didn't throw anything in. It's overcast weather again this turn. The overrun would have been nice because it might have allowed me to push this way. Of course, the danger with that is leaving an opening here, but at least the armor would be in the way, and maybe, I don't know. I'm just trying to find some way in to one of these to be able to get that breakthrough, you know, end result. I don't see any additional bridges left, so we're moving to whatever the Germans are going to do. They still have a pile of artillery that they bought for this turn. They don't have any reinforcements to throw in, but I could launch an assault somewhere like this, but I only have 3 artillery I can use in there because, remember, I've been misplaying that. And it's really hard to launch an attack when you don't have, you know, sufficient units in this. I still managed to cheat. Remembering that, hey, I can only use 1 artillery barrage per unit, that was incorrect. I actually looked it up, and it's per infantry unit. There's just this level of laziness in me in regards to learning new games right now, and you know, I just seem fundamentally opposed to like actually looking things up even when I know they're wrong. You know, I remember something and then I go back to it. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me here. Well, I'm looking at the German situation. Yeah, I bought a whole bunch of these. I just don't know if I can do much with them. So here I'd have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do I want to launch that? I could end up hurting all my units. 4, 5 to 4, 5, 6, 10. No. I could go up to 7 here by adding an assault from here doesn't look good. An assault from here, 4, 5, 6. Well, I can't really afford to attack because I'd be opening up a pathway to victory. So I think I'm just going to pass. I just don't see a way to use those assaults effectively. Maybe the Brits will leave something open for me, but as of right now, and I think the Brits aren't going to be able to assault either. So we're kind of reaching that, hey, here's the World War I stalemate line, which I don't know how well it maps in the sense that the Hindenburg Line trenches are almost as effective. I don't know. See, here's one thing with the rules, is I have the feeling that if I look up and find myself what those little squares mean, they're not going to tell me everything I need to know about little squares, which means I have to find the specific case in the rules, the specific place where they have a modifier. So for example, they have a damage modifier on the barrage table, but that's not specified on the hurricane barrages. That's not specified there. They have a specific damage modifier on the assault casualties. That's not specified there. You give me a player aid chart, that's a good thing. You give me one that doesn't include aspects, and those aspects are gonna fall off my brain, you know? And I think that's pretty common, to tell you the truth. So, this is pretty nicely filled in terms of there not being a lot more room on the page. Is everything necessary here? Well, I'll tell you, this tank refit die roll chart probably isn't necessary, right? The sequence of play that essentially gives no information. You need a more detailed sequence of play for it to be valuable. Could probably be dropped. I find myself having to look there all the time. And the rules could include, if I can find the map, so somewhere we should have, yeah, we have here the bottom of each identifier contains the terrain effect modifier. Areas with a square contain hidden line areas. Areas with a triangle contain woods. There's no reference going into what those things might mean in that early part where you're looking for it. What rule to go find for where they affect. So then I have to kind of remember, oh yeah, let's look up, and I'm not sure that the other factor would be helpful to me in the situation that I'm in, but I do know that the rules are helping to discourage me from looking into them because it's hard to find things from references. So I'm looking for the assault, the barrage points. So the barrage points are listed here, and then we've got the Hindenburg modifier there under that, and then in the assault somewhere we have that modifier as well. Kind of not quite sure where. I was counting this before, but now even knowing that I need to find it, I'm having trouble finding it. Here we go, the defensive positions here. All right. You know, I'm grasping at excuses. I should be able to handle memorizing a 16-page book of rules that aren't all that complicated, but I'm having real trouble figuring out what is wrong. Is it just me and the fact of how I'm trying to learn a new system in a bad circumstance? Anyway, looking at things as they stand now, I don't think we're going to see much of anything. I'll try to fly through this turn. We'll see if the Brits can calculate out an assault with no artillery, or if the Germans see that they want to take a risk. You know, I mean, the best they can do here is roll it even with all their artillery. Well, with all the artillery they can bring to bear, and that's not going to do much. That's more likely to hurt them than help them. It does feel kind of like a static war. Oh, here's what I was... Okay, so what got me going on this was that those Hindenburg lines are just as good for the Brits as they are for the Germans. Now, there's some value to trenches facing the wrong way. There's no question of that. These are deep trenches. Turns may not have enough time to have converted them over, but maybe it's a fair abstraction. But it does seem a little weird in that the Brits come pushing, surging forward, make their breakthrough. They're in an open area. The Germans push them back, and the Brits end up in the German trench lines that are, you know, not as solidly built. And in fact, they're not as solidly built facing the Brits anymore, even, as they were before the assault. Which is to say, all that barbed wire, all that crap in the way that slows down the attack, that's being cleared out, you know, over the course of several days. That's disappearing. So those values being fixed values on the map without any kind of facing aspect to them, that is a little disturbing to me. And what it means is, where we have those fixed entrenchments, for example, the British being here, means that the Germans can't make a counterattack in that direction because the Brits are sitting inside the Hindenburg line, facing in the wrong direction and getting all the benefits from it. And that's kind of what was disturbing me, is you're not going to see the Brits being thrown back to their starting lines, no matter how big an offensive, you know, within reason, that the Germans can come back with, within the core capabilities of this game. You're just not going to see that easily because they're going to be able to get the full advantage of the terrain. Thus, this would not work without the... you know, this wouldn't work for your normal World War I situation, right? Because you saw that quite often. There'd be a limited breakthrough, and then whichever side got the breakthrough would pretty much be thrown back, And you really would see almost no gains over the course of the battle, even though there might be some short-term gains midway through as the initial breach because of the huge quantity of men thrown in. So, what is the modifier here? Well, the thing that makes Cambrai special, there's two. One is the British tanks, and two are the German infiltration units, which don't have any special abilities here. They probably should be, they're probably represented by simply a higher attack strength than other units, and that may be sufficient. However, they had this deep penetration philosophy, which in a lot of ways would allow something kind of like the overruns that the tanks are able to present. And leaving that out, I think, probably hinders a German ability to come back quite as much. But this is fairly early in terms of the Western Front for those units being able to cope. So you could say, well, they might not be able to penetrate the British trenches the same way they were in, 1918. That may be the case, but note this: they should be capable of punching their way through non-entrenched terrain fairly well. They had, several circumstances where they were doing that on the East Front. So that's kind of disturbing to me, although the rest of the army may not be taking advantage of the spearheading quite as well. Then there's another factor here, which is, hey, if you just take the tanks out of the battlefield, the British army doesn't look bad. It looks like it can gain some ground, and it looks like it can slowly progress forward, maybe a little too quickly for the believable side of things in the game. Which is to say that the underlying design isn't really working quite well enough for World War I. But I'm not sure about that. And I mean, obviously, my game has been totally skewed by playing the rules completely wrong. Anyway, we'll get on with this turn. Maybe we'll just end it here if Haig doesn't decide to end it, because I just don't know how much more I can learn about it. The Germans aren't going to get a huge flow of troops in. It's basically going to be, the Brits have a slight numeric advantage where they can probably get a local concentration with some artillery and still gain territories, but their assault's pretty much pissed out. And the German assault is pretty much pissed out. And then it just really comes to, well, we're above 20, so the game, I think, is over anyway, isn't it? There's an auto victory somewhere. But of course, it's not in the base rules. The base rules are for the game that ends here, I think. I don't know. I hate double rule books. Just keep the designer's notes if you want, and other useless stuff that you don't need to look up in here. But so where's our victory conditions here? Victory check at the end of November 26th if they have greater than 21. So, I mean, this is over. The Brits are going to win. They're not going to be pushed back to 20 victory points, that's for sure. So I think we can probably call it here. But anyway, I'll finish up the turn for no better reason than a way to waste some time. And with both sides basically unwilling to do anything with the new trench line kind of decided here. Yes, the Brits had an attack here, but this is dangerous. We had them do this before. They do an assault here, they can destroy, a garrison, and they take a hit on one of their infantry. That's not a fair trade, not by any means. Unfortunately, you have to make that trade if you're going to keep pushing forward. But we get our baseline. Here's contested. We might be able to punch through this. Had we tried 6, 7, 8, 9 to 9. Yeah, we would have needed artillery for that to work. Over here, divided here and divided there. The Brits obviously made humongous advantages. This is the end of the base scenario. This is also the end of the Grand Campaign because the Brits have done well enough. I guess the Hague die roll kind of automatically fails, and they just say, we'll entrench here, and the Germans decide they've been punched back enough. They'll probably be trying to hold whatever key terrain they have. I can't imagine fighting not continuing in these couple of sectors, though. I could see the Germans pulling back from here, but I can't see them giving up these good defensive points. So it's as though the campaign is going, you know, the operation is going to continue until these terrain features are controlled by one side or the other. All right, I'm going to send this up. This playthrough has been totally useless. I think I'm going to try another shot at this guy right away, and we'll start doing it. If I still can't remember the rules, forget it. You know, we'll walk away and we'll say, this game is unable for whatever reason to sink into my brain. But I think after one play that, you know, this is something, this is like my first CDG was, right? Where, you know, I'm like, shit, everything's very different. There's a lot of very different concepts in play here. And there's enough rules, unlike, say, the Junta area-based combat system, which is kind of hard to grasp too, but you get to play it again and again, you know, with new setups. You screw something up one coup, you do it again. On the next coup, you learn what's wrong. But part of it is a reluctance to look into these rules. These rules, I don't know why, but they do kind of shun me from reading them. They kind of say, hey, you know, sorry, we're not going to make it easier to find the things that you need to find. All right, let's send this up, and we'll try to get a cleaner playthrough.